we're going to do an exercise here. These are developmental stages. And I'm going to take a few minutes to explain this map. Okay? Basically, what I've done to integral is I've turned it into EBIC integral, evolving brains in quadrants. And what I've done is taken the triune brain theory and added it to Wilber's Ockwell integral. And in doing so, it's given me some incredible insights as to how to use integral, not just to see the world accurately, but to use it as a personal transformation tool. Okay? So we're going to go through that here. So basically, if you look the bottom here, we've got the physical brain. Okay? When you're a child, you are identified with the activity of the physical brain. And everything that you touch goes into your mouth. Because, you know, can I eat it? You know, it's physical survival kinds of stuff. And we grow out of that into our emotional brain, where we start to have emotions and we can get angry and have tantrums. And we realize that tantrums give us power because parents submit sometimes when we scream and yell, right? And so we start working with emotions and being our emotions, right? And if I don't want to eat that, I have a tantrum, right? And I'm going to gloss over these in a gross way, not doing justice to them, but just to give you an idea. We're identified with our emotional processes. At a certain point, you have to learn to rein your emotional processes in, and you do that by identifying with your intellect. And instead of having a tantrum, you're told if you have a tantrum, you're going to sit in the corner for the next 3 hours. So you have to learn to suppress that tantrum. Your emotional system is no longer you. It becomes something you have to control. And so you move into the intellectual world, and you become your thoughts. You don't become your emotions, you become your thoughts. That's the stage most people stop at, our thoughts. Okay? Now, there's two versions of being in your brain. The top part of this is the individual focus, and not the top, the left side is the individual focus, the right side is the communal focus. So, in the physical brain, in terms of spiral dynamics, individual focus in the physical brain, you're all about survival. Think of cavemen living off in the woods before they have a cave. Everything is about what's going to eat me, do I have food, right? And it's about survival. Once you get survival and you've got your cave and a clan, you move into a magical mode where you're seeing the world, you're very present, but you don't have any cognitive structures to understand, but you're still trying to make sense and control things. So you do things like when lightning comes and it strikes the tree and makes a big sound, you say the sky gods are angry with us. Let's do something to appease the sky gods, right? And so you make a sacrifice, maybe of some game or something to appease the sky gods. It's magical thinking. And you're trying to control things you're not in control of, but you're doing the best you can. Okay? When you move into the emotional brain, the first stage is power dominance. The angriest, strongest person gets what they want, and it's impulsive. You take what you want. Rape and pillaging is part of this thing. The clan moves to a tribe that's making an empire. And we get the battles between the Mongols and the Chinese and the Europeans. And that's tribal power dominance. You can cut off people's arms and not care because you don't have empathy yet, right? You rein in the impulsive, emotional, physical power dominance with traditional rules and roles. Once you've got a tribe that's working and you've got Chinese and black people and white people all living in the same empire, you can't just kill the black person because they got you mad, because you're going to break the tribe up. So you have to live by rules and roles, and that's our traditional cultures. This is how you live. Follow the rules. The golden rule emerges here developmentally, right? So you can look at this as an individual going from child to adult. You can look at it as civilizations. We recapitulate them. And you can also see these things happening in our own culture, where we've got homeless people in survival mode, magical thinking people who believe that their retirement's going to come because they buy a lotto ticket every week, not knowing that the odds are they can do that for 1,000 years and never win, right? But there's magical thinking that's getting them by. Power dominance, we've got the gangs, right? Traditional, we've got like the churches and the 12-step programs to get you out of the drugs and the impulsive nature of that violence, impulse-oriented thing. Modern is about our business world and our self, aspirations to be the best Olympian or the best guitar player or the best anything, right? That's the modern world, and it tends to be lonely once you've been in it for a while. So I get 55-year-old men with tons of money who come to me saying, I have no relationship with my children. It's, once I moved out of the role of parenthood and they were individuals, I couldn't relate to them. So then I teach them how to move into postmodern and start listening to their kids and see through their eyes and sort of being the father, right? Or the mother. So postmodern, you start taking other people's perspectives and values into account. Now, according to spiral dynamics, we're only ever at one stage, okay? And what I've found is that we move through these stages at different times, okay? So that basically, if I activate your intellect, you're either going to think about yourself from your own perspective, or you're going to think in a postmodern perspective. That's a hard nuance to pick up, but when I'm talking to guys in California, they embody postmodern. They speak in a language that weirds me out a little bit. Hey guy, it's good to see you. I really love how you're showing up. And I go, awesome. And it's part of their culture, but there's this sensitivity to my space that I'm not used to, right? Because California guys are odd. Like, they're a little ahead of us Canadians, right? We have a cultural postmodern sensitivity in terms of all of our multiculturalness, but a lot of people don't speak postmodern as a natural way. We tend to still be very I-centered, in our relationships. So when your intellect is activated, you're either going to be modern or postmodern. If I get you upset, either angry or sad, and your emotional brain gets activated, you're going to either go into power dominance and get angry, or traditional rules and roles, and say, why did you act that way? You should have acted this way, right? So different brains are programmed to be in different ways. So the next two up, the integral, that's a qualitative leap. And that's when your emotional brain and intellectual brain start working together. And the emotional brain basically sees patterns. That's how I can look at a face and tell if someone's angry or sad. I'm taking the objects and making inferences and calling that anger. It's a best guess, or the feelings that I'm picking up from people. Those are best guesses. But we're doing pattern recognition of behavioral, subtle energetics, right? And so when the emotional brain and the intellect start working together, we see patterns of our thinking and patterns of our behavior. And we start to ask questions like, why do I always go out with certain kinds of people? Why do I always get caught in certain kinds of dynamics? And that's basically a deconstructive stage, where you begin taking your ego structures and questioning them and looking at them differently, and ideally having the tools to deconstruct them and get rid of the things that aren't serving you. If you do pattern recognition in a collective sense, you're a visionary person. You get to see things in your discipline or your area of study or expertise, and you have deep insights into what's going on, and you make revolutionary contributions to the field, because it's a post-rational, post-logical, post-sequential process. You see the patterns and you have the insight and you communicate it. And it takes a while to articulate it into a linear language. That's what Einstein had problem with. Okay? When you move up to the next stage, you literally combine the physical brain with those two emotional, intellectual brain modes, but your sense of self is situated in the physical brain. And now you're just here in the stillness of awareness. Okay? And your thoughts and your emotions come and go, just like sounds come and go. It's different than just being in your physical brain, because here your thoughts and emotions hadn't developed yet. When you're doing it up here as an integrated being, you can actually see your thoughts forming.